My sister stole my boyfriend. Then she invited me to her wedding and asked me to give a speech. My sister and I used to be really close growing up. We shared everything: clothes, secrets, even the same group of friends. But things changed when I started dating my ex-boyfriend during college. We had been together for almost 3 years. I honestly thought he was the person I was going to marry. My sister even acted supportive. She would hang out with both of us, joke around with him, and always said she was happy for me. At least that's what I thought. About a year later, I started noticing things were a little strange. My boyfriend suddenly started acting distant. My sister was always busy whenever I wanted to hang out with her. Then one day, I accidentally saw something I wish I hadn't. My boyfriend had left his phone on the table and a message popped up. It was from my sister. The message said, "Last night was amazing. I can't wait to see you again." I remember feeling like the air had been knocked out of my lungs. At first, I hoped I misunderstood. But when I looked at their messages, it was obvious. They had been secretly seeing each other for months. When I confronted them, neither of them even tried to deny it. My sister just said something like, "We didn't plan for it to happen." My boyfriend broke up with me that same day. And just like that, 2 of the people I trusted the most completely disappeared from my life. I stopped talking to my sister. My parents were angry about the situation, but eventually the family just moved on. Except I didn't. About a year later, I heard something that shocked me. My sister and my ex-boyfriend were getting married. And somehow they had the nerve to invite me to the wedding. At first, I thought it was a joke. But then my mom called and said my sister actually wanted me there. Not only that, she wanted me to give a speech at the reception because I was family. Honestly, I almost laughed. But then I had an idea, so I agreed. The day of the wedding arrived. Everything was exactly the kind of wedding my sister always dreamed about. Huge venue, fancy decorations, hundreds of guests. Everyone looked happy, like nothing bad had ever happened. When it was time for the speeches, my sister called me up to the microphone. She even hugged me in front of everyone, probably trying to show the guests that everything between us was fine. I walked to the stage and looked out at the crowd. Then I started speaking. At first, I kept things normal. I talked about how my sister and I grew up together. I told a few funny childhood stories. Everyone laughed. Then I said something that made the room go quiet. I said, "My sister has always been someone who goes after what she wants, even if it belongs to someone else." People chuckled a little, thinking it was just a joke. Then I continued. I said, "For example, about 4 years ago, I introduced her to my boyfriend." Now the room was completely silent. I looked directly at the bride and groom, and I said, 3 years ago, I found out they had been secretly dating behind my back." Some people in the audience started whispering. My sister looked absolutely furious. My ex-boyfriend looked like he wanted to disappear. Then I ended the speech with one last line. I said, "But you know what? I'm actually grateful, because if she hadn't taken him from me, I might have married someone who cheats." Then I raised my glass and said, "So congratulations, you two deserve each other." The room was so quiet you could hear a fork drop. Then I stepped down from the stage and walked out of the reception. I didn't stay for the rest of the wedding. But later that night, my phone exploded with messages. Apparently, the entire family was talking about the speech. Some people said I went too far. But honestly, after everything they did, I felt like they deserved a little honesty on their